Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another epic episode of the Sisters Chat. You might notice that we kind of like swapped out some sisters this week. There's somebody new that we're going to introduce soon, and two of our amazing sisters are not here, but for amazing reasons.
I love when people are not here for the best reasons.
Really the best. Hesha, you, congratulations, are no longer pregnant.
Mazel tov. Hesha had a baby girl.
Baby girl with big, huge, rosy cheeks. We cannot wait to meet her and to get her a little sisters chat stretchy or swag, something like that. And Mimi is on her way back to Texas. She joined me for Mimi's Bas Mitzvah, which was literally a dream. Everything I had in mind for the most dreamiest princess Bas Mitzvah with some beauty, some teichen, just all around with cousinly family love was all there. And it cannot have been done without my sisters, obviously. So, Ayla, I want to thank you from planning the date of what day of the week would it be. It would be best. To
Always
take
Tuesdays.
calendar.
Always Tuesdays.
And always Tuesdays.
Double
I
key
thought
time.
Sunday. I thought Sunday would have been the best day, but you said no. People have plans. They have to get back. They don't come on time. Here, you guarantee that everyone was there.
It was so beautiful, Mushki. Every detail. So, maybe a little over the top, you could say, but we're not going to say it.
Just how I like it.
And the only updates we have this week are, two amazing updates of Mimi's Bas Mitzvah. Full-time job for these two.
It's true.
And
where are the pictures? Pictures.
we're going to have to post some pictures. It was a pink wonderland. And Manucha, tell us Hesha's update.
So Hesha had her baby this afternoon. It's so exciting, and she's actually really cute, so we didn't have to lie to her, which is always nice. We were planning to, but we don't have to.
When you said my baby was cute.
Which one?
Oh.
We didn't say that about all of them.
But could we discuss the fact that in middle of the Bas Mitzvah, and for those of you who have been on the chat with our mom and have been following us know that in the middle of the Bas Mitzvah, Hesha let us know, I think the baby's coming.
This is the best story. She says, my water broke. Our mother leaves the Bas Mitzvah. We're like, wait, no, come back. Hesha,
she said, I'm going to Hesha, but we said, no, Hesha lives in California.
We're like,
come
we can't
back.
go anywhere.
It's so cute of Ma. Like, she hears like her girls need her and she runs to the rescue.
But because Nini was with us, she actually made it to the hospital because somehow Nini gets JetBlue on the line, gets her on a flight at 6 a.m., and was actually with Hesha when she had her baby.
Oh, that's so nice.
Isn't that amazing?
That's so nice.
So anyways, this week,
we have a very special sister on. And I want to be quite honest. I feel like I was the last sister to meet my new sister. I moved to LA and I come back and everyone's like, Esther, Esther. And I was like, wait, like, does Mom have a secret child? Like, what is going on? And I found out that we have this amazing treasure in our family. Her name is Esther Engelson, and she is an attorney for estate planning.
I want to say that Esther, we've seen her in hard times, like at a hospital, and in good times at a wedding. And I think that's why you're part of the family. It's like you're there with us for good things and for hard things.
You really know us well.
Yes, I do.
Maybe a little too well.
I didn't even say the hot topic yet for this week. People are getting curious.
I know, they don't know. They think I was adopted or something. I have a mother and father, wonderful people in my own family. I was not officially adopted.
You know she's a real one when she came to my Shabbat Brachos when half my siblings didn't want him.
That's better than your sisters. So if two of our sisters weren't going to be here, we needed somebody special to take their place.
Replace both of them all in one. So our hot topic for this week, I almost can't say it because honestly, it's a little heavy for me, but we did promise you on the
Mushki,
chat.
we're grown-ups now. We're grown-ups now.
Some of us, I never promised to be that, but we said on the Sisters Chat, we are going to really try to give you an array of really everything family, whether it's the fun stuff, the hard stuff, and even if it's a little controversial or harder to talk about, we really want to be that landing spot that you could come hear something and apply it to your family. So our hat topic, please sit down and hold on to your seat. Ayla, you just say it. I can't. I can't even say it.
Well, it's really estate and will planning with the wonderful and very, very trusted lawyer, our friend Esther Engelson.
Thank you for that introduction.
And thank you for coming all the way down from Muncie.
And I love that you insisted on doing it in person, because there's nothing like being back here in person doing the sisters chat. I'll tell you what, you were by, now I remember, you were by Hesher Manuka's wedding, and I thought
Manuka's wedding.
I thought you were one of my mother's random friends. So I was being nice to you, but I had
I told
no idea who you were.
We're doing a chesed. I know.
And the rest of us were being
Little did
nice
they know
because she
I
was
was
writing the will. It was a bill event.
I got a steak from one side and a Coca-Cola from the other.
I know. I was like, okay, mommy must have met this nice lady. I take like the hosting part very like seriously, but now when you walked in, I'm like, wait, I do know you. You were the
So Mushki loved you with like my father's random business associate and like a neighbor who showed up.
I thought she was someone Mom met on the avenue one day. Like, you never know. She picked up a new family
It's
member.
not so far off.
That isn't so far off. You're right.
She has met mommy.
Exactly. I did meet her. I am very good friends with your mother as well. So
I know, but people might think this is just all fun and games, Esther, so fun, but this actually is more of a serious and practical episode, and we are so excited to jump right in.
There are so many important topics when it comes to keeping a big family together. We had keeping a family close, and that was with my mother as we were growing up. And I feel like, Esther, you are here to help us understand how to keep a family close, even for really, Admei Vestrum and after that. Because there's so much involved in family dynamics that has to be taken care of in the before, in the after. And I can only share from our experience that we invited Esther because, this might be my father's secret talent, but everyone he works with becomes his friend. But Esther really has become part of our family in the most amazing way, making sure that everything, is discussed out in the open. Everything is carefully planned for. And I know that you came on really because you felt like there's so much you want to share with the community, with families, that sometimes we feel like we're always just getting by for tomorrow or the next week, and we could barely plan for Rosh Hashanah.
That's right.
Yeah. Like, who can plan past their menu? But there are certain things that have to be discussed in real time. And we are thrilled to have you on the Sisters podcast.
Thank you. So I think a big part of estate planning, I'm an estate planning attorney, and a big part of it is to keep the peace. So you're seeing this wonderful, amazing sisters chat, sisters group, and we're seeing this cohesive unit and a very family-oriented group that really love each other. And the main catch here is to make sure that carries through for generations and going forward. So my goal is to keep the peace and to keep shalom in the family. And because I was a litigator prior to this, and still am a litigator because I can't leave the job of arguing in front of a court because I just love it too much. But because I'm a litigator and I've done a lot of litigation regarding trust and estates, where families basically fought over big inheritances. And so I saw all the problems that were involved in those families. And I decided that henceforth I was going to create plans that would avoid those fights. Because the worst place to be for a family is in court. That is just the worst place. So the plan ensures, any plan, a will, a trust, any plan ensures that your family will stay out of court. Better legacy does a person have than ensuring that their children will not end up in the hands of a judge who will make decisions for them because the children can't do them themselves.
So you're basically a modern day Aaron Akaim. Do you get that all the time?
I'd like to think so. I get that all the time.
Oh, no.
But
I feel like that's every Tuesday and Thursday.
I'd like to think so.
Do you feel like more people love you or maybe hate you? Like, how does that work? Like,
well, I think the other side hates me, right? But that's when I'm in litigation. But the side that I'm for, I'd like to think that they feel that I care for them and that I'm with them. And I think that's the feeling that we have in this family, is because I care about what's going on.
And I think it's such an important piece. And we're going to ask you a whole bunch of questions that we thought up, and we had some help, if you don't mind, just because we want to take everyone back. We jumped right in.
Right.
But obviously, I think that the word lawyer, everyone gets nervous and thinks, oh, there's a fight. But you're really a lawyer who's on offense. You're here to make sure you're going down the pathway of shalom, so that it never gets to the point where there are lawyers fighting.
Correct. Exactly. I know exactly the pitfalls, and I think that any Jewish family, or any family for that matter, should not fall into that trap or that situation. And the reason that it happens is very simple, is because the parents lack communication. They don't speak to their kids through a will or through a trust, saying, this is what I want, and this is how it's going to happen. And when things aren't written, or when things aren't expressed in a written fashion, because otherwise talking doesn't mean anything, then we are left with a family who doesn't know what to do and how to go forward. And so that's the part that I focus on.
I feel like in so many areas, when it comes to wellness and health, we talk about being proactive,
Right.
And I feel like this is an area like,
no, you're right.
Being proactive is just really the only way to.
Right. So you can go on all the date nights, and you could have all the wellness, and you could have everything wonderful. Everything's going amazingly well in your life. And then all of a sudden, God forbid, something happens. And then we're left with the question marks that no one wanted to talk about. But these things don't have to be so heavy. That's the part where you need an attorney, because sometimes when families speak amongst each other, the mother's thinking, why is my kid talking to me about my will? Like, what does she have her eye on? Oh, she wants that necklace. I don't want to talk to her anymore.
None of us want your plans. Don't worry. You can tell her that, she can leave them to the neighbor in the wells.
And the Pesach pots are not necessary.
And definitely Bubby's china. Sorry.
You can throw that out. But that being said, there are things that the kids do fight over. And so it doesn't have to be a heavy topic. It has to be a topic, and then the attorney comes in and speaks for the parents. Or speaks for the children. And then it becomes a much more lighter, easier conversation. So somehow I manage to talk about death all the time and just sit and laugh about it, as sad as it is, because it's just something that's just part of life. And so what we do is we try to bring what a lot of elderly parents are like, I don't want to talk about dying. You can't even say the word dying, let alone you have to say after 120, which is right. But on the other hand, it's got to be spoken about, and it doesn't have to be a heavy conversation as well.
So really what we want to do tonight, I guess, is to normalize will planning, discussing it with your family, being open about those plans, so that it's not this taboo or even topic. If we talk about it, it means we are planning this. Everyone should be planning, right? This is something every family has to discuss.
Right. So there's misconception that only rich people do trusts, or only rich people do trusts and wills. And that is really not the case. At the end of the day.
So you being our lawyer, it doesn't mean that we're.
In other words, the sisters tract does not mean that they're wealthy. It just means that they are more open and expressive, which they are, which we've heard a lot of things from them. Right.
Shock the audience.
I don't want that. Yes, just in case.
I think that's so important, because you think, oh, there's a lawyer dealing with the will, but there are things like important family heirlooms, any property, or even just things that are precious to your family that have to be discussed.
So people have houses, and people have bank accounts, and people have just basic things that even not the most wealthy person has, but everybody's got. Many people have homes, many people have bank accounts, and that has to be taken care of. How does that pass after the person dies? Do my kids even know my passwords? What happens after I pass away?
Most of your clients from families, would you say?
I have from clients, but I have also non-Jewish clients as well. I learn a lot about different cultures.
Yes. Is that easier or harder in terms of our family size is probably larger? Does that make it more complicated, or because you understand the family, it's easier to guide them?
So it's all from a legal perspective, it's not a large family or a small family doesn't make the difference. What makes the difference
It's
is
true.
that the child, with a lot of children, there's probably going to be a higher chance of one child being eliminated from the will, or one child needing a supplemental needs trust, which basically means that they have special programs or special needs. So there's going to be more unique circumstances in that type of family.
Just by probability fact,
right,
because there are more.
because they're larger families. So it's a little
That's so
more,
interesting.
you have to have more knowledge about trust dealing with larger families so that you can cater to every single child or to different children.
Who gets cut out first, like from the top, or we go from the bottom?
Don't worry, you'll never get cut out. You're like,
Okay.
Was that
Just
the only
double checking.
question you
Yeah,
had
I can
written
go
down?
now.
Manuka, you can go.
I can
now.
leave. I'm happy.
attorney-client
But I
privilege.
think
I cannot
I
say.
have to stay on a little longer.
You're gonna stay till
in
the
order
end.
to work on staying in the will, you'll have to stay a little longer.
And this is from an insider. Ouch.
We're in big trouble. But large and small, it doesn't make a difference from a legal perspective.
But it's such an intimate thing, sharing all of your, I'm not saying secrets, but it seems like they're sharing their bank accounts, anything
Yes.
that's important to them. So I guess that psychology background is so important because people are coming to you with,
So vulnerable.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so people come to you with a lot of different, you kind of sort it out for them. You have to be a psychologist as well. You kind of sort out what is, at the end of the day, if that feeling that they have towards a child for today, does that mean that they'll have it tomorrow? Or does that mean that it's necessary, that we have to change something because of that? As a family lawyer, you really have to be in tune with emotions, and you have to be the advisor as well to know, wait, like this person is just going through a little moment here. Wait, let's just wait and see what happens, and wait, sleep through the night and come back to me tomorrow morning, and let's see if we're still in the same place.
One thing that I was really shocked, I mean, I think I'm the last person in the family to meet you, and one thing that I'm completely blown away is by how hilarious you are, and you have the best sense of humor. So do you feel like that's so helpful and such a benefit when dealing with these really heavy things? Like it helps lighten it up?
I definitely think the humor helps lighten things up in court, everywhere. It does help lighten things up, but lawyers have, a very, the litigator type of lawyer definitely is more of a rigid person. They don't necessarily laugh. You guys are very easy to laugh, so that's why the humor comes
so
out.
are we getting special
Yes.
treatment, or are you
So, no, it
everyone's
just
BFF?
comes. There's chemistry that just comes along with it. You have to have a lawyer. I tell all the
You
clients,
don't laugh with every family. Sometimes it's more just
yeah, not with every
Really?
family. So you can feel good about that. Yeah, not everyone has such great
Do
senses
you
of
charge
humor.
more for the laughs? Or do we
No,
get a
but it takes
discount?
more time.
So every joke we're sending,
Every
and
joke.
every picture we send.
It's $1 more.
Bill.
Yes, you're getting billed for those jokes. Definitely.
Laughing.
Hurry up, ask your question, Manu. Ask your question.
All right. What are some short-term benefits of doing this now?
Well, the basic answer to that is that nobody knows when the time is up. It's pretty depressing. So
I was just gonna say that just
Right.
put things on a downer.
Right, but that is the truth. So nobody knows, but this percentage are so small. But still, if you take care of it, if you say, there's not only the financial aspect of it, but also who's going to take care of your children. And so when you have a large family and all the sisters and brothers and say, well, I think I'd be better, or
I
I'd be
thought
better.
they were gonna say
then
you
we're-
could have them.
Or you'll say, or maybe they'll all say, we don't want them. Oh my gosh, how are we going to deal with this? So this is something that we need to discuss before. So this is something that these issues should be brought up, and it's just so, think about it as such a remote chance, but at least I will have taken care of it and I would have left my children in a better place.
So most of our listeners are about our age, between 20 to 40,
Ava
young
literally
moms.
keeps checking the analytics. She's
The
very on
analytics,
top of
I'm a
it.
math teacher. So I'm just curious to give them that information that when should they be writing it? Is that something that everyone should start and then you amend it as you have another child,
Right.
you buy a house? Do you start it now, or is there a normal age that you would say, if you're this age, you should have started this process?
So anybody that has children and is married should have these few documents. Number one, a will. Number two is a power of attorney, which basically means that I'm giving somebody, in case I'm incapacitated, during my life, I'm giving someone the power to control my finances. Who's going to pay the mortgage? Who'll take care of the bills? Who's going to do everything? Who's going to pay for my children's tuition? Nobody's going to know what to do. So at the end of the day, you need that person to substitute for you. Okay, so that's a power of attorney. Then you should have a healthcare proxy saying who will make a decision for me if I'm incapacitated, and can say, I do not want you to do this in case I'm hospitalized, or I do want you to do this. Which Rav are you going to speak to? And let's say you're in a family where everybody has 4 different Ravs, so it would be a good idea to establish exactly who you want. So these are the forms, these 4 forms: the will, the power of attorney, the healthcare proxy, and the halachic will, which I'm going to discuss in a minute. Those forms are essential just write it up. Now you can just go online and write and fill in. Okay, you just need like a witness or a notary, which you'll see on the form which one you need, and you can just fill it in, and it doesn't have to be the biggest dramatic situation here. It could just be something you and your husband say, let's just fill this out and we'll do it.
Like before Rosh Hashanah, it's a good New Year's resolution to like make sure we took care of these things.
Right.
Could we say it's all thing for Arichas Yamim, like it's a
it's a school, especially if you come to me.
I told you about that humor.
So
with your mezuzahs and your
check your mezuzahs, buy your pomegranate, write your
buy
will.
your white jewelry.
Right, definitely. And before Yom Kippur, when you're just bawling your eyes out, you just add this, and that's it.
Is, like, if you're making a cheshbon and a fashion, it's really about making sure that everything is in order.
Right.
I think
because it's the biggest gift you can give your kid.
I think that's what it is.
It's a gift. It really is a gift that you're going to give your children. And when you have minor children, they won't even know. But you're giving your siblings and your parents a gift, because at the end, just having the passwords, or just having access and knowing what to do is a huge thing. Just knowing what the assets are. When a parent gives you a list of their assets, that's another thing that you have to make a list.
Taking the guesswork out of everything.
Right, like this, people just have to wait. Like my clients, a lot of them, their parents passed away, and they just wait for the mail to come. They're like, ooh, look, this is a new asset that we have here. We never knew. How would they know? They have no idea, because the parent left it in a book. The parent,
there's like these major surprises
all the time. The parents leave the assets in some book that the father said it's in this sefer, but really it turns out that it wasn't in that sefer, and we don't know where he put it. And now they're busy searching and rummaging through the sefer. And maybe
so it's like B'dikas Chametz night. It's a good time to find
the assets.
Guys,
now the father
I know where Ma keeps her Amazon password, and I'm not telling you.
So Menucha's covered for Amazon.
Okay, she's going to inherit the Amazon account. I quickly block everybody out of that. That being said, which I do have clients, many of them, they just run to the account and then they transfer all the funds. I mean, not my clients, but their brothers and siblings, and they transfer the funds. And so that happens when there's a emptiness. There hasn't been a direction. There hasn't been a focus by the parents. And so it leaves room for that brother who maybe isn't as great as you thought he was, all of a sudden to come in, and then and people get desperate, because finances are a very big part from life.
And passing away is a very expensive piece.
Right.
People don't talk about that. But
you just had that A-list sorry with your
I'm just saying, you don't realize it, that there's so much that has to be done, and in such a fast time.
Right.
So my question for you, Esther, is this something that parents should be sitting their kids down if they have adult children and explaining to them what's going to happen? Or is that something you do after 120?
So every family is different. I have clients where the parents the kids sit down with the parents, and the parent calls me up and says, did you see? She's taking everything. Why is she sitting with me? Why is she talking about this? So there are that type of personality that may be a little not appreciative of the child's meddling into their affairs. And when that happens, that's when you need to get an attorney involved in the discussion, because then it's a neutral third party. So you're right. You shouldn't be telling your mother when that happens, I really like the Leichter. That's beautiful. And it's not really fair that my sister should get it because I know that you gave her, you always buy her clothes, and you don't buy me.
So how often does that happen?
Many a times. So That I would not recommend. On the other hand, there are parents, such as your wonderful, lovely parents, who are much more open about things in a way in terms of discussing what should be. And so that is a conversation you could have. Well, your parents took care of it, but I'm saying that is a conversation that you can have with your parents saying, look, go see an estate attorney, or let's discuss how we should do this and how should we divide things. And let's meet with an estate planning attorney and get things in order.
I love that we could normalize this conversation because it is part of life and it's just time that we all accept it. I wonder, is it because last generation, think about post-Holocaust generation, everyone was literally just leaving, maybe the tefillin and like a few paintings, like there was so much less. And now Baruch Hashem, as Klal Yisrael we have more. We just do.
So we definitely do, but it's also a mentality of respect that people had for, elderly, that you wouldn't like say things to them about death because it's just not respectful in a way. But today, your kids are telling you things that I would never be able to tell my parents, right? So there's a difference in generation.
Like, Ma, why are you doing a podcast?
Right, who would ever dream of it? So telling your parents that, you'd be like, I'm doing a podcast because I said so, right? Because that's what I want to do.
How did that go over?
So you'll find out in the will.
That being said, I do want to note that for people, especially the older generation, I do have clients that come from Holocaust, from parents that had a lot of wealth, that survived the Holocaust and they have a lot of wealth. But that generation went through an estate plan that was, a lot of them just did it, a will, and that was it. When there is a lot of sophisticated planning for people that are wealthier to enable them to save taxes and to enable them to, pass generational wealth without having to give so much to the government. So there's there's a sophisticated aspect to it that isn't just as simple as I just said to you, go on the internet and get a will, or go on the internet and get a power of attorney. There's much more sophisticated process to it, which was missing, I think, in the prior generation.
Esther, so now that you're starting to say things like government and taxes, we're going to all look a little less smart if we continue on our own. Because anytime somebody says anything like that, we smile, we say no problem, and then we hang up and we call my father. We say, here's my W-4, here's my 1099, my W-9. I always say no biggie, and then really I'm just forwarding it to our local in-house resident business finance expert, scholar in residence. So we have a little surprise for our listeners here on the Sisters podcast. They slowly want to meet each family member. So they met our sister Esther now.
Hi.
Esther, who is your favorite?
You have to say it's attorney-client privilege.
To find out when you read the will. No.
Yeah.
So we are very, very excited to have our father here in studio, Rabbi Yossi Afson, who is maybe going to help us ask and answer some of the more complicated questions that we will nod and smile, but we have no idea what's actually happening.
Now people are going to know when I just nod and smile.
It's
By
the way,
I like them.
The sisters chat is undercutting themselves. Let me tell you, some of them are really, really, really brilliant. So let us not, make ourselves sound like we don't know any taxes here.
MBA does not help in this situations.
Manucha has an MBA.
Oh,
but,
there you go. There you go.
But you still let Tati help you with her homework.
Every day.
Ta, if you're okay with it, take a break from your Tehillim saying.
I want to tell you, Esther, what really flipped it on its head, the second you said gift, I really feel like that's what it is now. I was like, this is so not my line of, work and what I'm comfortable with usually. But the second you said like gift, and this is a gift you could give your children, I really feel like it really just changed everything and put it really into a totally different perspective.
It definitely is. So I'm going to say that again. It's a gift, but it's not a gift that's like, it's an essential gift. It's not something that, if I don't give the gift, if my kids won't have the Lululemon gift, it's not going to change the world, right? But if my kids are not going to have this gift, it will make a difference. It's going to be a big problem. So.
Okay, now that our favorite guest is here, so many guests this week, we brought him in to ask the hard questions that we do not have the brains for. So Ta, take it away. If you're able to ask some questions that people want to know, go for it.
Thank you, and thank you for having me on. I have a question with two sides to it. Number one is that how does one really go about making sure that all of their siblings or children, in whatever case it is, are treated fairly when we all know that the children, especially, will not necessarily think that it's fairly. Number two is that, in your opinion, is it a parent's responsibility to evaluate the abilities of the children and allocate assets accordingly? And within that, should one be giving more assets to those children that they feel might be not as capable as their more capable children?
Ta, can I answer your question, which I typically do? Sorry, I'm butting in over here. I had wanted to ask the question also, just because halakha, there is, I think, an halakha that says the oldest gets double.
Only if the oldest is a son.
So then it's not relevant to any of us here. But I was curious about that also. Like, that always felt so unfair to me when I heard that. Like, is it because we practice on them or they're the favorite? But like, how does that?
It's triple.
So it's oldest son and youngest daughter in our family, basically.
So we basically have three questions, and we'll get to it. Let me get to the first question. You said basically the question was, how do you sit down? The first one was the communicate. Answer to that is the communication is very important. Your plan, and if you feel like it's fair, you feel like it's a fair plan, but one child might not think it's fair, the communication is essential. So instead of after that, they'll be basically shocked out of their minds, it's always best to speak. Now, you're the boss and you figure out, as I always say to everybody, you're the boss and you figure out what the decision is. You don't have to explain yourself to anybody. But on the other hand, you don't want to leave your children feeling sick about a decision or feeling grief about it.
And there's no one to ask after.
Right. And you don't want them to come to your caver and say, what happened here, with no answer, right? So the best solution for that is to really speak about it before. Okay, that's number one. But that's your decision. You make that decision. You're entitled to make that decision, and no one has to really question that. But it's better to discuss it. The next question was number two, capable. Do you leave assets to children, more assets to children who are less capable? So that's all these things are personal choices, but children, even the ones that are capable, might feel resentful about the fact that why, just because I'm like they say, the galungana one, doesn't mean that I have to get ripped off at the end, right? On the other hand, the child is less capable. So I do think, once again, that goes down to, it's your decision, and it boils down to communication. If it comes up in a will and everyone sits after everything and finds out, oh, we didn't know, it's going to happen one way or another, but no one's going to be happy about it. But there's that process of communication, and there's also a process called the trust, where you implement all these decisions during your life. So the children will know, they'll see, they don't have to know everything, but you can definitely, there's going to be a trustee that knows why this decision was made.
Mushki likes surprises, but what I'm hearing from you, Esther, is this is not the type of good surprise that people want.
I don't see that these surprises help, okay? The trust helps, but it's during your life, and then you explain it to the trustee, and the trustee can explain it to the child, or you can explain it yourself. And to the person, your children. Everybody knows your children. Everybody knows the easygoing one and the one that's going to make a fuss and the one that's going to fight. We know.
Which one am I?
Okay.
I don't have to
We
worry.
know who the one. We know who everyone knows. There are no surprises.
Mushki, are you stressing?
There are no surprises. It's like I always say, all that from my litigation experience, every rabble rouser, every child that brings the cases, if you ask the other side, the one that's the making the problems, if you ask all the other children, are you surprised? They'll be like, of course not. We fought about the chocolate chip cookies all day, Of course not. He was always the fighter, always the fighter. She was always the one that made us crazy. There are no surprises here. So the parents know exactly which kid it is that's going to make the problem, and it's the parents' responsibility to make sure that those kids don't make the problem. And if they're not happy, so be it, but they'll know.
Okay. Next, one of the words, And that
wait.
obviously,
My question.
The halacha.
The halacha question.
We got to know the halacha, right? Right. So we have the halacha. There's a halacha.
Is that the halacha?
Yes. So it's pishnayim, right? And girls don't get, right?
which doesn't apply to us, Pishnayim.
Right. Well, there's a halachic will. Essentially, what you're doing is you're saying there's ways around it. So basically, there's you create like an indebtedness where the father says, look, you want to take Pishnayim, take Pishnayim, but you owe money now to the rest of the family. And so you have to sign together with all these documents, and that's where you have to go to an attorney. You sign a halachic will that basically gives validity to the will. There's ways of and then there's not only
without it being based in
without having with giving validity to the will and giving, because at the end of the day, the halacha is something we do respect and we do want to follow.
Do people follow that halacha to the T, or nowadays it's much more about
accepted to be fair? And there's many shalos teshuvos from different rabbanim that basically say it's okay as long as you follow the process of the halachic will.
Next question. I'm obviously older than all of my children here.
I thought you were going to say older in general.
And even than
I'm
Esther.
catching on how to get a bigger
Esther
portion.
feel good.
Yeah.
He's a little older than
When
me.
it comes to estate planning, and I fortunately got into it a number of years ago, and it's taken a long time to figure it all out and lay it out properly. But the one word that amongst my friends and amongst my associates, that are obviously not all of them are young and some of them are not some of them are not healthy, is the word probate.
Sure.
And it seems like probate is like this unwritten word. Stay away from it no matter what it is. So can you explain what is the idea of probate and how one best avoids it?
Great question.
I'm going to pretend like I have no idea, just like
This
the
is where we
audience.
smile.
This is where we lean in and listen.
Okay, but I'm going to make it so simple that you want to hear, you want to understand. So probate is when you have a will. So the will is only a piece of paper. The court gets involved and says, this will is valid. This is a good will. Okay, and that is a process. So other than the fact that it costs money to start that process, there's a judge that has to sign it. Now, all the children are going to have to sign papers saying, we agree with this will, we think it's a great will. And then once it gets to the court stamps it, and then the executor, that means the person in charge of everything, is going to get letters from the court saying that they can take care of everything. Now, what is the problem with probate? If you lived in Sullivan County, even Rockland County, then I would say it's not such a big deal. It's not the end of the world. You pay the fee, which is expensive, and you pay the lawyer's fee. But at the end of the day, it'll go quickly. It'll happen, and within a few weeks, you'll get the letters. It will, and it will be public. That's the other thing. Your will be public. So technically speaking, people could look in your will. It won't say how much you own, because generally it just says, but the minute it gets a little more sophisticated, everyone knows, this family looks like they probably have a little more money because they're trying to avoid something. So
and then your tuition bill goes up,
right? And then the shidduchim comes.
So it's you win some, you lose some.
That's one side.
It was
it's no joke. But then if you live in Kings County or in New York County, that is going to take a long time to process because they're so backed up. Even in states like Maryland, any city, they're going to be backed up, and it's going to take you a minimum of a year to process. I was
actually going to ask, what's the process?
It's a year. So people say the word probate, they run for their lives. Why? It's public, your will. Everyone's going to know. Number two is the process takes so long. So that's why people put it in trust before. When they put it in trust, it's just a trust is like an entity. Now we have to take all the properties that you own and put that, it's like a shopping cart. And now we have to put the food in the shopping cart. So now we have to take all the properties you own and put it in the trust. That's a process, and that's complicated. So there's the flip side to that, but it definitely helps to avoid probate.
Within this idea of trying to avoid a probate, what happens, and even with a full estate planning, what happens if one or two of the children just decide that they're going to fight? How does estate planning make sure that even if they, regardless of what their claim is, and even if they have a legitimate claim or they have a totally illegitimate claim, how do we make sure that they do not cause a process of two things, of destroying the family and of destroying the assets of the family? I have witnessed many a time where by the time the kids stopped fighting, they owed money.
There was nothing left.
No, even in fairly wealthy families, even when there was assets and maybe properties and everything, that by the time the kids stopped fighting, and there was lawyers on this side and there was lawyers on this side, and there was they ganged up, some of them on this side, some of them on this side. They destroyed whatever was accumulated for the family that obviously should have been there to help those children move on and start at a point of life which was probably further along and better than what their parents had at that stage of life.
Yep, that's what you see all the time. And the estates get basically dwindled to zero because of the fighting. The answer to that is
sad reality.
it is. The answer to that is that you can put in the trust, and I do have it on my trust as well as in the wills, a clause that basically says anyone that contests this will not get their share. Now, does that mean that they can contest? No, because like they say in New York and Kings County, you can indict a ham sandwich. Basically, anybody can go to court with anything. And there's no gatekeeping clause here. But on the other hand, they will suffer the consequences. Now, to contest a will, the validity of a will, that you can't even put a clause in. That, even if you have the clause, they can go to court. So the best way to do that is either to create the trust and discuss it with the family members. That don't discuss your plan before with everybody, because if you change your mind, you're going to have to explain to the people, sorry, you're not going to be the trustee anymore. I don't like you anymore. So I'm not saying that you should discuss it with everybody, but the people that are not going to be equal in this, or the people that have you've heard from them that they think that you owe them $500,000, that should be discussed before, so that you eliminate the chances of a machlokes.
So therefore my question is, if one has a primary residence in Brooklyn or Manhattan, and then has a summer residence upstate, and therefore, even though that's not their primary residence, do they have the option of making that, for estate purposes, their primary residence, to allow them to avoid getting caught in the New York City court system?
So it's really the place of where they died.
Wow.
So they can do, but the place of residence is as well, where do they reside for the past 6 months before that? So that's a residence requirement that applies to tax, accounting, for everything. And so that's what they would have to prove. You can't, if you reside in Muncie once a month, and you live in Kings County, that would be a tough, a hard situation to go to Muncie now and try to probate there. Okay, they would throw it out. As we know, courts throw out everything they can. So as soon as they get overwhelmed, it's not even overwhelmed. As soon as they have to work a little hard, it's passed on to the next court.
Can I ask a dumb question, but I'm actually just curious.
Yeah.
If someone hadn't listened to this podcast
Yeah.
and didn't write a will, what are the repercussions?
Good
what
question.
happens?
That's a great question.
There must be some people
yes.
right?
And that's why you have to write a will, because what happens? So it's a default. It's called intestacy, right? So when someone dies intestacy without a will, so what happens is default provisions in the statute in the New York law that says, okay, we're going to give, as opposed to Jewish law where you give everything to the children, here we give 50% to the mother, to the spouse, or the father, the spouse, and 50%, and a second wife as well, okay? And 50% to the children. Plus, this is new, every state is different, but New York has another 50,000 for the spouse. So if we have now a spouse situation where this is a second marriage, or if we have a spouse situation where where all the money should go to the children and the spouse doesn't necessarily have to benefit from that, that's got to be in the will. That's got to be decided, because otherwise it's going to go to the spouse and it will go to the children, 50% of that. It might not be a fair outcome. So if you want something different, you've got to write that and create a will or a trust, because otherwise it will just do what the law says.
So Mushki, I'm noticing you're getting very emotional.
I don't know. I'm like tearing. It's just like, no, logically, this all like makes so much sense. And as you're talking about it, I'm like, you're right. Ayla, you're right from the beginning, from the get go. Ayla, so we have to get Esther. But I think it's just something I'm not used to talk. It's just heavy. And I don't know, hearing everyone talk, it's just bringing up a lot of, I'm just like tearing. It's just bringing up a lot of
I know. Well, you know what?
emotions.
Can I answer that somewhat?
Yes.
You know Mushki, and she cries at
No,
everything. Oh.
Puzzle.
She gets it from you.
The crocodile tears. No, it's not that. I think, and I found it out, and I spoke to my friends, I think there's a misconception. Estate planning is, from my perspective, is not primarily to discuss mortality, death, and afterlife. Estate planning is primarily for a person to honestly assess what they've accomplished financially, what they have, and how best to utilize it in two ways: to benefit their children and possibly to benefit their family as a whole later. In other words, possibly instead of forcing the division of all the properties, find a way that if they have businesses, if they have properties that produce income, to make sure that they stay as income producing entities and not just that it's a one-time grab bag. And obviously some children will do better with the money, some children will do worse with the money, but a lot of them will end up with nothing 6 months, 12 months, 18 months later, just like before.
I've heard statistically that 1 year after people inherit the money, if it's something they're not used to, they'll like 90% of them spend
Kind of like the lottery.
Yeah, like lottery.
right, like lottery, right?
Yes.
Is that
That's true, and that's why the will can always create a trust in the will that basically says, if I know this one child is incapable of managing money,
or it's just so exciting
them,
to
right?
get like a windfall,
right? Or he's young, and so that child, hi Manucha, sorry, if you're young,
you were talking about me.
no, you're the youngest. If that child is a young child or incapable child, the will creates a trust, and the trust essentially the money is in a trust, and there's a trustee who is at the trustee's discretion whether to distribute the money or not. So there's a step removed, so they can't squander the money or can't just waste it away. So it's not a one-time shot deal where they just inherit it and then it just goes.
What I just keep coming back to from this discussion, and the way you said it, Ta, and the way you're saying, Esther, is just like shalom in a family is the most important thing. No?
If you have family's everything, right? If you've got, if all of a sudden after a death, there's the siblings just crumble away.
It's
and
like almost
disintegrate.
worse than the loss, like or it's a second huge loss.
Loss.
And you could just imagine how the deceased or the father and the mother must feel when they leave,
right.
When they look down and they see a family that's crumbled.
Right.
So what does that mean to the parents, and what does that mean to the family itself? And siblings, we all know how the sisters are so important, right? You want to keep
nothing
that.
more important.
It's true. Though.
Unless you're your father's favorite daughter, then you dump your sisters and you go and.
But
So
Ava, I do know why I'm getting overwhelmed. Even when David says, I think we should sit down and do budgeting for the month, tears come, it's overwhelming. So I think you can imagine what this episode is.
Well, I'll tell you,
to me.
When I got married, my husband wanted a life insurance policy, and I was devastated. I was like, how could you even ask for on me? I was like, is there a murder that I should know about? I was like, this is terrible.
I was gonna say, I think for the Jewish community, first there was like a whole thing talking about life insurance.
Exactly.
Plan, and that was like a huge deal. But I do think this is like
the next step, right?
The next big thing happening here.
Right. So the next step is, and especially now that a lot of people are getting their life insurance policy, and that means that someone here is going to have a lot of money and might have to pay taxes, they might need a trust to protect that life insurance policy. So that being said, that's if you have big policy. That being said, the residency requirements for estate planning are the residency requirements for accounting. And if you're not a resident of that place, you can't just decide to file probate in Sullivan County when you live there for 2 months, as much as those 2 months feel like the year.
But the best part of the year.
The foundation of the whole year starts in the bungalow.
Just when a life insurance policy comes due, in other words, after 120 years, whose estate and to where does that money go, and how is it then distributed?
So the life insurance policy is in the estate of the grantor. That means it's in the estate of the person that passed away. So that means that if he passes away and there's this life insurance policy, it will be included in his assets. So therefore, it would be wise if he had other assets and he reaches a certain amount of wealth, then it would be wise for him to put that life insurance policy in a trust. And that is why you need an estate planning attorney to let you know and inform you whether you're in that category. You might be surprised.
What a fun surprise.
I know. Isn't it fun to know you're wealthy when you think you're poor your whole life?
Can I ask a question that popped up? Hypothetically. So I know like when it comes to, let's say, school and they're switching up the classes and the teachers, sometimes it could be like, these parents are mellow. They're not going to put up a fuss. Maybe we'll give them the not as experienced teachers.
Right.
I feel like when it comes to wills, the kids that they know don't make a fuss and are more mellow and happy going,
Right.
do you feel like they get shortchanged?
Honestly, most families do everything equally, unless there's someone that, really is different or a different situation, which everybody has there's different unique circumstances. But in a typical situation, in a very run-of-the-mill kind of situation, everyone just divides equally. And then there's usually the child, everyone, not the easygoing gets shafted. It's the one that like makes the trouble that will be disinherited.
So Esther, just because we love to be practical and, we're talking about a theory.
Some of us.
So say we all say we're getting this done. This is something that our parents have done personally, something we're hoping to still do and work on. What are the steps somebody needs to take to get this very, very important piece started?
So the first thing they have to do is have the conversation. Have the conversation with your spouse, have the conversation with the child that you think would be the most responsible, that can handle the estate. Have the conversation and say what you want to do. And then once you want to implement that strategy, then speak to an attorney. Now, sometimes
not every attorney, only Esther Engelson.
There are many good attorneys, and not always is there the right shidduch for everybody. Is it the right match? But sometimes you want to speak to the attorney before, because like I said, the parent is very sensitive and the parent doesn't really want to discuss it. But with an attorney, that attorney knows how to connect to that elderly person and will be able to make that plan where you or who are conflicted in this matter can't do it. So it depends, but everyone should have that conversation. Then every young person should take out that power of attorney form, write a will, go on the internet, get yourself that power of attorney form, get yourself that healthcare form, fill it out, do what it says. It's pretty simple, and just get that done. If it's a little more complicated, an estate attorney. And if it means it's me, I'm happy to help you.
All right. So we do have some quick questions for you, the fast five.
Okay.
All right. So just short answers, whatever comes to your head. How long does it really take to write a will?
Ooh, that's like...
We
that question means that we're going to have to lower the cost for how much we charge, right? Depends what kind of will. Like I told you,
a drive-by will.
Right, a drive-by will, quick, nothing happening. It's not that lengthy, but if you have 12 children, then we already have, and if you have a complicated where you want to create different trusts for everybody, it takes
typically people are looking for it's a month.
You're talking like a month-long process to have everything from an attorney's perspective to get the product rolling and to get the signatures. I think that's a month-long process. 1 month.
All right. Next question. What % of families actually have one done?
I just looked up that stat. 30%. of families have a will.
That's
not a lot.
That's
And in
very,
the
that's,
Jewish community, I wonder what.
we don't have stats for anything. What do we know? We just operate.
it's a mystery.
Yeah. What do we know? No one says.
What's the funniest or quirkiest item you've ever seen left in a will?
Oh, that's such a fun question.
That answer, Pesach Pats.
Wasn't a joke?
What?
Pesach Pats.
Who got the Pesach pots? The kid they liked and the kid they didn't like.
It was from Europe.
Big family versus small family. Who's easier to work with?
It just depends on the client, the parent, because sometimes you have parents that are really difficult to work with, and sometimes you have a pleasure. It's nothing to do with the kids.
It's fair. If you could give just one just do it already tip to every procrastinator, what would it be?
Have that conversation, start speaking. Once you start talking, it'll be much easier. Don't think about it like something like having anything to do with death. Think about it as just something
Don't
you're doing
start
for your
crying
family.
like
No
Mushki.
crying.
Yeah, and also you see the we're why don't you say
No.
like pass on?
It just,
Just like just
Yeah,
switch
so,
it up a little
right,
bit.
right.
It's like harsh.
like Yana Machla, exactly. So like,
But there's a way to just
right.
I don't know.
So imagine
Right.
a lawyer had to fix all those words
Oh my
and
God.
Niv Teres, Yana Machla. You would never know what you were reading.
But like I said, when you make a will, I think it's Arichas Yamim comes right after that. It's a schos for Arichas Yamim.
Amen. So Ta, usually you just listen after, but now you're here. Did we miss anything important?
Not that I know. Obviously, there could be, but I think we covered enough of the important points, and we've stressed the importance of going down this road.
What feedback are you going to give us after you listen to this episode again?
We wish everyone a ksiva v'chsima taiva,
That's
a
good.
shana taiva v'sukkah, a riches yamim v'shanim,
Amen.
and therefore, and we wish Esther continued success in a very successful.
So if
Thank
there was
you.
a Yelp for estate planning and reviews, how many stars would you give Esther Engelson, lawyer and trust?
Oh my God.
I can't answer that because I haven't had any else, but I can't stress how pleased I am.
Okay, I did not pay for this
That's five stars,
advertisement.
yeah.
This
You're
is
not too fast.
I did not pay for this, just so you know. But I will say that they're very special, and this is a very unique, special family that you're watching, and that you have insight into a dynamic that's not readily apparent in most families. So I think it's very special. So what you're seeing in the sisters chat is just not a bunch of sisters. It's actually sisters that really care for each other, and brothers too, by the way. But
Wait, we have brothers?
Yeah.
They're in the will.
Is there like a...
halachically, you know, you're all
And Ty, you remember the boys. Okay, fine.
okay.
Well, we really thank you so much for joining all our different topics, whether it's fun to listen to, harder to listen to. Thank you for being here for it all, and see you next week on
The Sisters Chat. Ty, you're going to come again, right?
He loves it.
It depends.
You were great.
It depends on the reviews.
Leave us 5 stars now. Esther,
Leave us 5 stars. Not only did I not get paid, but I was on the Sisters Shop, and all I got, not a sweatshirt,
How about a mug?
not a mug, not some cup. All I got was just a cold cup of water and a postcard that's empty.
And lots of love.
Lots of love and laughter, no stamps.
Help us out as we finish off here. Tati and Esther,
No,
ready?
See you next week on the
Sisters Chat.